in terrorist cases. Terrorist cases I'm only going to do it, I swear, involving cases of terrorists with foreigners. Now, the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution says that we have an absolute right against self-incrimination, and protected communications are those between an attorney and his client, a husband and his wife, a priest or a spiritual leader and his confessor. Gone. We have President George Walker Bush announcing by fiat, and it evoked a stirring series of editorials by conservative columnist William Safire, that he will now have military tribunals to try terrorists, could be held here in the United States. And in those military tribunals, they don't have to reveal evidence if it's in the interest of national security. They don't have to disclose the voting. They don't have to publicize the trial. And the person convicted can be executed even if 1/3 of the officers disagree. The Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution provides the right to a fair and speedy trial, the right to confront one's accusers and to examine the evidence against him. Also, under the Patriot Act, it is legal for the FBI to come into any business on a terrorist investigation and seize all of the business records. And what's more, there's a clause in there that says that if it's your business, you can't tell anybody that the FBI was there, or they can lock you up. There goes the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, part of the First Amendment. Now, people who read this, who want to defend the Bush administration, will say, good grief, they wrote a sunset clause into this. It's supposed to go away after 4 years. Well, if you read the sunset clause, and it's in my last issue of From the Wilderness, there's a provision in there that says this clause applies except for in any case where the investigation was begun before the sunset clause takes effect. The sunset clause doesn't exist. All they have to say is, we started this investigation before it's a date in 2005. And there is no sunset clause. There is no Santa Claus, maybe. This is just the beginning. I didn't become a policeman to break laws. I became a policeman to protect people and to enforce laws.
In the article in Inside Magazine, it was mentioned that you didn't get a chance to read the bill completely before you had to vote on it. Is that true?
That is interesting, because a lot of people are fascinated with that possibility, and it is true. And they think, well, is this the first time that's happened? And I say, no. Anything that's important, that's the usually way they do it. Unfortunately, what they do is they pull these shenanigans and say, you don't have much time. But we looked real hard for that bill. And even while I was going to the floor, the staff still could not get it off the internet. So that in itself should have been a reason for everybody to vote against it. So there was not a full disclosure there. We had an idea that they were taking a reasonably bad bill and substituting a very bad bill, which was the Senate version. The House had actually cleaned up the Senate version to some degree, but they switched it at the last minute. We did not have it in front of us, so that even made it that much easier to vote against.
And I am a very poor example. 23 years. I've been shot at twice. I've been made homeless. I've been forced into bankruptcy. I was told that if I ever had children, they'd be killed. I was denied employment. I was arrested on phony charges. I've had all of that in 23 years, and yet my sacrifice pales by comparison to some brave men I know. And I'll mention two out of dozens that I know. One is Celerino Castillo, a DEA agent who lives in McAllen, Texas, in poverty, who watched the CIA loading planes full of cocaine at Ilopango Airfield in El Salvador, who confronted Vice President George Bush then, and who was told to leave it alone. It's a White House operation. The DEA forced him out and almost killed him like Serpico. And the other is the Marine colonel by the name of Jim Sabo, who caught those CIA C-130s flying cocaine onto his base at El Toro Marine Air Station and was murdered because of it.